Right. Well, this is so critical. It underscores what it's going to be the theme today. That the very, very keen observation, the last 8 or 9 cases that you indicated, that was basically messages you received, throughout from Iran and abroad. These are very specific demands, and they're very practical, and they basically would pave the way for us to apply meaningful pressure on the Islamic Republic to basically, help make the transition easier.
Yeah, right on point.
So, and one of our goals is to basically have this systematic and sustained communication with the Americas and the world community to basically find voices like Marjan to be heard, and Voice of America, the stories of Pastor Abedini, to find its audience across the world, and raise global awareness. And that's our goal. And we will this is first phase is learning to crawl, walk, and fly. It will be just those 3 phases. So, having said that, we have another gentleman, Fazil Azizan, who traveled 9 hours from Atlanta to be here. Fazil is a known human rights activist and a TV host, very controversial, if I add. And hopefully today we'll stay positive and give us some positive feedback.
Sure.
Appreciate you coming here. Why don't you join me? And yep, 15 minutes. Here we go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fضائل Azizan. I have been in the United States since 2009, and I'm very glad that, at one point, I'm very glad that I am now, I'm happy, and then the Secret Service of Iranian, what they call it, Vezarat Ettelaat, or other secret agency, they don't follow me. And I'm living in peace. Nobody called me. It's like there's no CIA, there's no Homeland Security, whatever you like, you can speak. It's like a paradise for me. I didn't have this. You can talk whatever you like, and that's the so-called First Amendment. And I really, when I am exercising my freedom, because I was living in a dictatorship, I appreciate really how the system in America, and I'm very glad that I am among the people that all of them, they not only do not like the Islamic Republic of Iran, but also they try to change it too, as far as I understand. There is no reformist here. There is nobody here that promote the regime. That's a great point. And that's why I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm among the people. I get energy from all those here. And these voices are trying to be here. We as people, ordinary people, we do not want this current regime. We want regime change. And we want the policymakers in the United States hear these voices rather than the NIAC. Why NIAC can have access anytime they want, but I am 8 years here, and this is the first time that I have this golden opportunity to speak out. And I'm so excited that I'm just thinking that I'm dreaming. And then when I think deeper, I say, oh my God, when Obama was here 8 years, now Obama is not here anymore. We have a new administration, a new president. Things are changing. Even CIA director in regard to Iran has been changed. That person that newly was appointed as a CIA director that really annoyed the Islamic Republic of Iran was the same person that hunted down bin Laden. We need him. We need him because right now we have another bin Laden in Iran. His name is Supreme Ali Khamenei. He is another right version of bin Laden. And then I'm wondering how the system of America allows an organization like NIAC to lobby in behalf of a terrorist regime. It's like that there is somebody that is organization that lobby for the Al-Qaeda or Ikhwan al-Muslimin or Hezbollah. Does it make sense? They themselves, American officials, they say that this government, and they say it in fact and true, is supporting the organization, the terror organization group such as Hezbollah and Hamas, or they are supporting other organizations in Iraq. It's okay, you know that we are dealing with a terrorist regime. And then we have to dismantle NIAC in a legal way because they are taking advantage from the legal opportunity and they are trying to do it, but new administration is not gonna do it, and I hope it's gonna put an end to the NIAC activity. And another thing that Ms. Marjan brought it up was this. There are many refugees coming here using I-94 visa that is specific for the refugees, and then after 1 year that they get their green card, they miss their mothers, their father, their brother, their sister. It looks like that me or Mr. Kosar or Ms. Marjan, we do not have brothers, sisters, we just grown up automatically by ourselves, right? We don't miss nobody, right? They go back, they are being used by the, look what happens here. There's a national security issue. There's a national security issue. Don't look at it simple. They go there, they say to the Secret Service of Iranian, oh, we gathered a lot of information about the opposition. Oh, you know, oh, I saw Kosar, yeah. Even they say, for example, we saw Mr. Charangi, we saw Mr. Sina Davestani. Even they tell them what kind of, for example, cigarette Mr. Sina Davestani smokes. And then when they come here, they say to the FBI, hey, we're going to bring you. You see, this is a national, this should be stopped in the new administration. Their citizenship, or whatever they are holding in their immigration statuses, green card holder, or right, it should be revoked immediately, and they should be deported immediately to the mullah's regime, because it looks like they don't have any kind of problem like you and me. Mr. Davestani, how long have you been here? 40 years. 40 years. Have you been back in 40 years in the country? Why not? You don't miss your family or your homeland?
They're all gone. They're all gone.
You're all gone, right? You are scared from your life, right? All of us, we are scared. We can't go. So this is another concern that I have, and I hope this is going to be addressed by new administration to have a close monitoring. They have 12 secret agencies. They can monitor it very easily. And when they notice a couple of them were deported, all of them is going to be stopped. Because I don't feel well even in America. I have almost a heathen life. Even I'm living here heathen because of all those people that go Iran and come back. And another issue that is very important, and I think the policymakers in America, they can pay attention is this. We need money, very simple. As opposition, we have been crippled. For any kind of activity, we can be good friend for America because we are carrying the same value that Americans have. We are liberal, Democrats, we believe in democracy, separation, all 10 amendments that they have. Okay, if America doesn't support me or the opposition, when I say me, I refer to, I mean general opposition, okay, we will be crippled. In the Obama administration, we will cripple. Because for any kind of activity, we need money. And then, Voice of America, that I am here 8 years, even they didn't give me 8-minute airtime. This is sad, right? This is sad and tragic, but instead, Ashwar Janji, the lobby of Iranian, Khadivar, or other mullahs, I don't remember their name, but they can come there, and they can enjoy the tribune, a free tribune, international tribune. But the people like us that we have been here, we don't have a minute over there. I don't know what's going on there. They have to, I mean, inspect what's going on. Why the people that have been victimized by the Islamic Republic of Iran has no voice in the Voice of America. And it has been like Voice of Mullahs. Now, if you Google Voice of Mullahs, you're going to see that everybody calls Voice of Mullahs. So, policymakers can put good people in Voice of America that they know both English and Farsi. And then because they themselves really, they do not have enough time to monitor all those programs. And when something happens, they can say, look, what they do is wrong. Or there were some people that I hear that even they were in the employ of the president of the former president, Ahmadinejad, but they were the editor, they were keeping the editor position in the Voice of America. It's tragic. It's not only, it's a disaster. We are living in America, and the person who was working for the president now is here, and then controlling even here, censoring my voice, and I'm being victimized. We are being victimized for several times. So, for that was what I was thinking was important. And then I really appreciate Mr. Saeed Abedini. I enjoyed your speech too. And I'm very excited. I'm seeing all those, most of you I know from your activities, or I have seen you in TV or social activity, but it's the first time I'm seeing you face to face. And then I'm happy. And again, Mr. Farahman, special thanks to you. How did you gather all these radical people, all these people, and they're very good background people? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job, and I really appreciate it to giving me and other people this opportunity.
Thank you very much. And this is remarkable. I mean, this is what really makes this event special to me, and I hope you're all enjoying this, because such a diverse voices, and it is our diversity that we should celebrate. And also, Mr. Azizan brought up a very critical point, consistent with Marjan. So how important it is for Iranian youth, which form basically nearly 70% of 80 million. These are kids that are born between 1974 to now. You know, so they have very little recollection what it was like to live in a secular government, secular society, where men and women were viewed as equal, and women were not considered as a property or object, subject to the control of men. So this is so important to have a voice, and they have this sustained communication, Marjan pointed out so keenly that Voice of America, probably the most reliable communication platform there is for us to connect with Iranian youth, women, young girls, young boys, to make them understand that there is a world beyond the world that the Islamic Republic has created, the nightmare that they have to suffer, worrying about their clothes, worrying about who they're walking with in the street. The very foundation of their human dignity is threatened every second. This is not acceptable. We can push the restart in the Middle East, but listening to people like Mr. Azizan, Marjan Greenbelt, and basically I am hoping from this movement we actually find ourselves, Fazal. Once we find ourselves and find that common ground, we can actually speak softly but carry a big stick. And that's what we intend. And I think with the help of everybody, we can continue this momentum moving forward. Like you said, Pastor Abedini, at the beginning, I remember seeing a video on YouTube that a crazy guy comes to the shores and starts dancing and everybody laughs. And then somebody else joins him, and then somebody else joins him. And then by the time, like in a couple of hours, the entire beach is dancing. So hopefully we turn this smaller crowd to a bigger crowd, and we expand the circle. So I think we have slots for two more keynote speakers, and Mr. Dr. Amir Fasihi, the gentleman come to know for quite a bit before we actually talking, because I noticed his leadership in making us all aware about the toolbox that our ancestors have left us. For every occasion in the Iranian calendar, there is a ping. There's a ping to make us aware that Charshanbe Suri, when we jump over the fire and give our pain and suffering and gain, health and warmth, it's symbolic. Nowruz is symbolic, is a great symbol for housekeeping. This gathering is the housekeeping of opposition, for new faces, new voices, and that this cycle continues to refine itself and find its true voice, and find its true DNA. Are we a religious theocracy and a fan of that? Or are we sons of daughters of the Cyrus the Great? Or are we part of this greater human society where we can celebrate and coexist and consolidate both? That is the question, and hopefully we'll find the answer to Dr. Amir Fasiri. I hope you can give us a little background on yourself included. Don't be so humble, and looking forward to hear from you. Why don't you join me? Yep.
Thank you. I'll skip the background. I'll just get to the core of the issue. Background is all the medical stuff, so it's boring for here. Thank you, Mr. Kadaya. Thank you, Representative Meehan, for making this happen. It is nearly impossible. I have a prepared statement. I'll read it. It is nearly impossible to provide a few-minute solution for a problem as complex as the Islamic Republic, a regime which through violence has occupied the ancient nation of Iran since 1979 and has used Iran's tremendous national resources to terrorize its own people and at times other nations. Unfortunately, nearly the entire policy discourse in Washington for this complex problem has turned into a bipolar view of, on one hand, continued negotiations and baby-step agreements to pursue some form of peaceful coexistence with the Islamic Republic, which is coexistence with a form of violence and injustice, versus the alternative view of diplomatic and military threats forcing us towards potential use of violence. Free and prosperous Iran, which is the dream of every Iranian, must have an alternative pathway. I am going to give it my best in these few minutes to make you think outside of the box and imagine a pathway free of encroachment with injustice, free of peaceful coexistence towards that gender and religious apartheid that is the Islamic Republic, and above all, free of use of guns, soldiers, and violence. In 2005, when the world's attention was turned to Natanz and its underground uranium enriching facility, I was studying books on Iranian celebrations, and in particular a book written in Pahlavi era on winter celebrations in cities in central Iran. One of the cities extensively documented was the ancient city of Natanz. As I would read through the accounts of Natanz's winter celebrations, I was mindful of how the people of Iran, their dreams, aspirations, and right to pursue happiness have forgotten politics, and solutions have turned to games of number of centrifuges and proxy wars in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Iranian plateau is mountainous, and Iranians have prepared and fought its harsh winters more than any other threat to their existence. In response to winter, Iranians created an intricate and beautiful set of winter celebrations to overcome people's fear of winter, empowered communities and neighbors to work together in months of otherwise suffering and pain, and be charitable to those in need so that no one goes hungry or cold. Celebrations of winter in Iran start with Yalda or Chelle, the first night of winter and the longest night of the year. It is a night of music, poems, and storytelling. The most common stories of Yalda are the harshest winters remembered by the elderly. Each town has also its own folklore stories, and nearly every story of winter ends the same. And then came Nowruz, and the winter was over. Nowruz, meaning new day, celebration of start of spring, is intertwined with the fabric of Iranian culture. Iranian winter celebrations, together with spring, summer, and fall celebrations banned or barely tolerated by the Islamic Republic, are a chance for Iranians to dance and sing and claim their inalienable right to pursue happiness. We are in the midst of a dark and cold winter of the Islamic Republic, and one cannot overlook the celebrations of Iran as tools against fear and despondency of today. I'm here to tell you that this harsh winter of Islamic Republic will end just as any winter does. And it will end spectacularly and dramatically with Nowruz, and it will be a revolution just as in Nowruz. Nowruz and the Iranian celebrations will not only herald the end of the Islamic Republic, the renaissance that will ensue these celebrations will transform the culture, society, and ultimately the politics of Iran, with Iranian values inherent in these celebrations, such as kindness, charity, and pursuit of happiness. Nowruz and all other Iranian celebrations are centered on the ethics and philosophy of Niki, meaning goodness, and the triad of neat thoughts, or good thoughts, neat words, and neat deeds. Nik, or Niki, roughly means good in today's English, but it is more than just goodness. Niki comes from love, from which Iranian virtues such as charity and kindness inherent in Nowruz and all other celebrations arise. The essence of Nowruz and all other celebrations is Niki. Overcoming violence cannot be achieved through violence, just as winter cannot be overcome with more storms and snow. Violence must be overcome through non-violence, which means the complete non-cooperation with any form of violence. Not only non-cooperation with guns, but non-cooperation with any form of injustice, any form of discrimination, terror, and murder, which are the essence of the Islamic Republic. Non-violence meaning the opening of a human being's conscience, where it realizes that indifference, sympathy, and worst of all, cooperation with evil is a shameful act, just as the great teachers of the 20th century, such as Gandhi and King, taught us. I'm here to tell you that the violence of this winter of the Islamic Republic can be overcome with non-violence of Nowruz. It is the only pathway which can change the hearts and minds of the people of Iran and can transform Iranian culture, society, and politics. Gandhi used to say that society needs to reach a level where it realizes that cooperation, sympathy, and indifference to violence is a shameful act. We have a long way to get there. Let me start with where we are now. In 1938, in the storied Madison Square Garden of New York, over 20,000 German Americans shamelessly gathered, waving Nazi flags next to American flags. It wasn't shameful at the time to be indifferent, sympathetic, or cooperative with Nazism. The Nazis had not committed the worst of their crimes, but their violence and terror on German citizens was well known. Yet there was no shame to be sympathetic or worse, cooperative with the Nazis. Today, sympathy or cooperation with Nazis, fascists, ISIS, apartheid regimes are shameful acts for society. Islamic Republic is no angel compared to these systems, and sympathy or cooperation with the Islamic Republic should be just as shameful. In 2015, I took my two daughters to Galen Center in Los Angeles to watch the U.S.-Iran volleyball match, encouraged by the State Department in their policy of short-term reapportionment, negotiations, and peaceful coexistence with the Islamic Republic. Later, I found out that the sponsors of the game had pre-sold 2,000 of the best seats surrounding the court to someone sympathetic with the Islamic Republic. Buses were arranged from as far away from San Diego with Iranian Americans who were handed Islamic Republic flags to surround the court to create the impression that most Iranian Americans in Los Angeles are sympathetic to the Islamic Republic. The game and the waving of the Islamic Republic flags here in the U.S. received broad coverage on Voice of America. As I sat through the volleyball match, I was ashamed of taking my daughters to a stadium where they could become indifferent and numb and possibly shameless as those waving the flags of terror and violence. I felt like I was at a Nazi rally here in my own hometown. In fact, regimes who use violence and terror to rule and reach their goals, such as the Islamic Republic, Nazis, ISIS, fascists, and apartheid, are one and the same, and they should become as such in our society. Terror, killings, rapes, murders, intimidations, and harassments, kidnappings, and at times mass murders are hallmarks of regimes like the Islamic Republic, Nazis, ISIS, fascists, and apartheid, who use violence to obtain people's obedience. Those sympathetic to the Islamic Republic may say that one cannot compare Islamic Republic to Nazis. I angrily disagree. They may think Holocaust as horrendous, while violence against the Baha'i is somehow okay and not comparable. They are one and the same, but in different scales. Reformists and those sympathetic to the Islamic Republic may believe that cutting off of heads on YouTube in Mosul by ISIS is melodramatic and horrendous, while the rape, torture, and killings of Islamic Republic behind closed doors, somehow more acceptable. I angrily disagree. They are the same. They may reject racial apartheid as inhumane, but gender and religious apartheid is somehow not shameful to them. It is shameful. Nazis, apartheid, ISIS, fascists, and Islamic Republic are different manifestations of violence. Having colorful elections every 4 years, allowing choices of prison wardens, while terror and violence rules the state, does not place the Islamic Republic in the category of democratic societies, as reformists believe. They belong next to Nazis, ISIS, fascists, apartheid regimes, but with more colorful choices. The current and past history of violence of the Islamic Republic is what puts it in the category of evil and shame. The raising of human conscience, where it sees cooperation and indifference to violence as shameful, is the strongest weapon we have in the arsenal of nonviolence. In order to change this shameful cooperation of individuals and groups with the Islamic Republic, we cannot pursue a path of threats and further violence. In fact, threats and further violence do not seize the cooperation of those working with injustice. Even worse, threats and violence usually strengthen the support for violent regimes. Those previously indifferent to the regime become sympathetic, and those sympathetic become cooperative. While in nonviolence, hearts and minds are changed and transformed, and conscience of human beings is awakened for them to cease cooperation with evil. Only through the awakening of conscience of an individual will that individual cease sympathy and cooperation with violence. Only through love can conscience be reached and for cooperation with violence to truly cease. This is the essence of nonviolence. In 1908, in his old age, Leo Tolstoy, author and perhaps one of the greatest Russians of all time, sent a famous letter to India called A Letter to a Hindu. This letter was ignored by most Indian activists, but caught the attention of young Gandhi in South Africa. In the letter, Tolstoy argues that Indians need to look deep into their own culture and find the sources of love and nonviolence to resurrect the pride in Indian culture, to free their society from chains of British imperialism. Gandhi followed the advice of Tolstoy and searched for the message of love and nonviolence in its own ancient culture of India, and used the 3,000-year-old concept of ahimsa to build the ethics behind his army of satyagrahis. Martin Luther King looked in his own Baptist teachings for sources of nonviolence and love to build his army of civil disobedience, civil rights activists. Mandela and South Africans used the African concept of Ubuntu as the ethical backbone of nonviolence. We Iranians, the children of Zoroaster, Cyrus, and Ferdowsi, can also heed the advice of the old mystic of Russia and search our own culture for sources of nonviolence. We are an ancient nation and a proud nation. At the birth of human history, in places as diverse as China, India, Iran, and Greece, teachers and philosophers appeared, who each shaped the ethical framework of civilization. Confucius laid out his philosophical work at the dawn of history for the Chinese. Buddha forever influenced India and the East. Socrates made the Europeans think, question, and reason. For Iranians, at the dawn of our history, a philosopher and teacher appeared in the name of Zoroaster, or Zarathustra, as some Europeans call him. Zoroastrians may consider him a prophet, but to all Iranians, regardless of religion or belief, he was as human as Confucius and Socrates, and in his own right, as important a teacher and philosopher as they were. Zoroaster said that philosophical and ethical worldview which gave birth to children such as Cyrus and Ferdowsi, and today all of us Iranians. Zoroaster's ethical worldview rests on three acts of neki, or goodness: neek thoughts, neek words, and neek deeds, which are one of the cornerstones of Iranian identity. This is the ancient message of love and nonviolence in Iran's culture. From these three Iranian acts of nonviolence rise Iranian virtues, which Ferdowsi teaches in Shahnameh, and as basis for telling the story of Iranian mythology. Virtues such as the value of John, meaning life, and symbolized by lion by Iranians, the master of life in nature, and khirad, wisdom or reason in service of neki, or goodness, symbolized as the sun. Thus the lion and the sun form one of the cornerstones of Iranian identity and are repeatedly seen through our history, carved into stone, stamped onto coins, and in 1906, after the constitutional revolution of Iran, selected as a symbol for the free and prosperous Iran. Thus I'd like my fellow Americans to know that the flag of the lion and the sun is not a symbol of an opposition group or an organization or a monarchy. It is a symbol of Iranian identity, placed on the flag by the children of Zoroaster, Cyrus, and Ferdowsi. Islamic Republic fears all symbols of Iranian identity, and above all else, it fears the flag, and those sympathetic or cooperative with the Islamic Republic fear this flag greatly as well. Ferdowsi, through epics and mythology, tells us Iranians that neki leads to other important Iranian virtues such as dadgari, justice, dahishmandi, charity, rawadari, tolerance, shadzisti, pursuit of happiness, azadegi, being free, and abadsazi, bringing barren land to life. The great leaders of nonviolence in the 20th century taught us to look into our own roots for a message of nonviolence. Iranians are luckily endowed with tremendous cultural resources and lessons of nonviolence, enough to make any movement and nation proud. We cannot ignore this tremendous set of national treasures as we trek upon overcoming the Islamic Republic. Gene Sharp, another great contributor to the study of nonviolence in the 20th century, reminds us that it is not enough to go up against the guns and tanks of an authoritarian regime with ethics and morals alone. He tells us that these regimes rule as long as they have the obedience of the population. Thus, empowering the people of Iran to disobey is the most important challenge in overcoming the Islamic Republic. Monthly Iranian celebrations of neki, banned or barely allowed under the Islamic Republic, are forms of disobedience in Iran. The ancient monthly celebrations of Iran, together with celebrations of Iranian heroes, scholars, and poets, can help empower the population for them to find the courage to disobey, while ensuring that the disobedience of the population has the ethics of nonviolence required to reach truth and love. While using Iranian celebrations as tools, we must also be constantly cognizant that we are not only dealing with a political problem in Iran, but also tremendous psychological, social, and cultural issues which also need addressing. Psychologically, nearly every Iranian has experienced fear, terror, and trauma in their lifetime. We know today that nearly 20% of human beings who experience trauma can develop post-traumatic stress disorder, which can paralyze their lives and their families and can place them in constant state of anxiety and fear. The prevalence of PTSD is even higher in circumstances where a person is placed repeatedly in a fearful state, such as those living in Iran. Large number of Iranians are suffering from PTSD, which is paralyzing our families and communities and inhibiting their empowerment. Psychologists and anthropologists in the 20th century recognize that rituals, and particularly celebrations, are tremendous and powerful tools to help families and societies overcome fear and pain. and can be powerful tools for human beings suffering from symptoms of PTSD. Luckily, Iranians have a tremendous set of celebrations based on ethics of Niki, which can each become tools for psychological healing, while providing courage and self-confidence to the population. In addition, dictatorships attempt to destroy the bonds and fabrics of society and create what Sharp called an atomization of individuals in society. National celebrations also can help empower society and end the atomization of citizens. In addition, in a cultural setting where ethics are lost, where violence dominates families, schools, streets, and communities, where sense of goodness, Niki, is hard to find, national celebrations which bring Iranian virtues to life can help undo the ethical void and provide a set of ethics to help rebuild the culture and society. So let it be that Nowruz shall come and will bring with it Niki and a new day in Iranian homes, streets, and politics. Let it be that this Nowruz will end the winter of fear, violence, and terror in Iran, and will herald a new spring in Iranian history. Let us end the era of violence and injustice of the Islamic Republic with Nowruz and not use of guns and soldiers. Let it be that Nowruz shall bring to life the other forgotten spring celebrations of Farbardingan, Ordibeheshgan, and Khordadgan, and for those spring celebrations to once again remind us of acts of kindness, the importance of tending the environment, and sanctity of water. In addition, in the spring are also national celebrations of three of Iran's greatest children: the celebration of Saadi, the master of Persian language and a teacher of kindness in Shiraz, on 1st of Ordibahesh. Then there is a celebration of Shahnameh and Life of Ferdowsi in Tus on 25th of Ordibahesh. And the 28th of Ordibahesh, the celebration of another one of Iran's greatest sources of pride, Omar Khayyam Neishapuri, mathematician, astronomer, and poet. Let it be that the two-day grand and ancient summer celebration of Tirgan, celebration of splashing of water, once again becomes a reminder of the self-evident truth that Iranians, like all other human beings, are endowed with the right to pursue happiness, especially with a splash of water in the heat of the sun. Let other Iranian celebrations of summer send chills down the neck of the Islamic Republic as additional forms of defiance and civil disobedience. The grand six-day autumn harvest celebration of Mehragan for Iranians goes back to our mythology. It is the Iranian people's celebration over Zahab, the serpent king murdering two youths for their brains each day to feed the snakes rooted on his shoulders. Iranian mythology tells us that Iranians overcame 1,000 years of his dark rule on Mehragan and celebrated for 6 days and nights with music and dance. Let 6 days and nights of music and dance and pursuit of happiness fill the lives of Iranian people this generation once again. And God willing, we will celebrate Mehragan for 6 days every year. In autumn, there is also the celebration of Cyrus the Great in Pasargad near Shiraz, the father of Iranian nation and someone who applied the ethics of Niki during his rule and asked his children to do the same. Iranian history as a nation begins on October 29, 2,576 years ago. It marks Cyrus's declaration of rights for all citizens across his lands, the freeing of slaves across all Babylonian lands, and repatriation of all religious symbols to their temples. And Cyrus's order to help pay and rebuild destroyed temples everywhere, including the great temple of Jerusalem. An act of Niki which endured after his death and was accomplished by his predecessor, Darius the Great. This father figure for Iranians was himself a child of Iran and led the life and ruled with neat thoughts, neat words, and neat deeds. Let his tunes, his words, and his deeds free us of this winter of violence and bring Niki to our lives, communities, and politics, and for Iranians to experience Nowruz every day of the year. Let the light of fires from winter celebrations bring us wisdom to be kind to each other and our animals, and let those fires serve as beacons of hope and resistance against the Islamic Republic, and for them to herald the coming of Nowruz and an Iranian celebration. Let it be that Iranians realize that the keys to freeing their nation from the chains of the Islamic Republic are hidden gems within their own culture in form of celebrations and virtues which arise from Niki and are ingrained in Nowruz and other celebrations, and for them to resurrect these celebrations to empower society to engage in massive civil disobedience against the regime. Let Nowruz be a reminder of Niki amongst Iranians, and for Iran to one day become a nation where every day is Nowruz. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fasi. You truly symbolize what new faces of Iranian opposition has to say. As part of this initiative, for the past, I don't know how many years, Iranian opposition has been in this cocoon talking to itself in Farsi and whatever other language, but they're talking to themselves and hearing in this little cave. Now we want to extend that communication, and you truly paint a wonderful path for Iranian to find the solution from within, find in their DNA who they really are, how their ancestral great wisdom laid the path in Nowruz to celebrate spring and refresh and shake up the forces of oppression, Zahat that's sitting in Tehran. And today, it's such an amazing day for me to hear you, and it kind of shakes me up to my core, because these are the voices we need to hear. Frankly, in Voice of America, Mr. Azizian, you're absolutely right. These are the voices we need to hear today. We don't need to be hearing anybody sympathizing with the Islamic Republic, because they are part of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, they are part of the past. Unless we change this, this mindset that